unfold
when
the way
you're-
that,
when
and
you-
I will do an introduction,
Okay.
and then you will know when it's time to dig in.
Okey-doke.
All right. Okay, friends, today as we begin, I want you to ask yourself a few questions. How many of you have had a dream? Woke up in the morning and you were bothered by it? Or maybe you just spent a lot of time thinking about it and wondering what it all meant. Or maybe you've had a recurring dream. Or maybe you know you had a powerful dream, and when you wake up, though, you can't remember the details. Well, today we are going to go there into the mysterious land of dreams that we question and we wonder about and we contemplate if any of it has any meaning or significance at all. My guest today is going to open up a whole new world for us. Her name is Gregor, and she is an expert in the area. If you read her bio, you will discover that she is a former social studies teacher and secondary school administrator. And by the way, her bio goes on, and I'm just going to highlight a few of these things. She was an education consultant with Alberta Education. She served as the executive director for the Edmonton Regional Learning Consortium for 3 years. She completed her doctorate through the University of British Columbia, and her thesis was called, and I quote this, "The Apple and the Talking Snake, Feminist Dreams, Readings, and the Subjunctive Curriculum." We'll have more on that later. She is a sessional instructor at the University of Alberta. She is also an author of several fascinating books on dreams, which we will also talk about later. And she's a mom and a grandmother. Her journey with dreams began when she was just 9 years old. She suffered from nightmares, which continued until she was 43. To deal with them, she tried everything from iron tonics to psychiatry. Nothing worked until she discovered meditation in the world of dreams in December of 1988. She discovered she could ask for a dream. Yes, I said that. She could ask for a dream. And shortly thereafter, she was healed of clinical depression and began a long healing journey. She says dreams continue to be her teacher as she made the descent to the underworld. Oh my goodness, I cannot wait to dig into this conversation. Gregor, what a privilege it is to have you at my podcast table and to step into the inner circle with us today.
Thank you very much, Carrie. That sounds actually phenomenal. Do you know who that person really is?
Well, that's how I'm feeling right now, that I'm sitting across from a phenomenal human being. And can I ask this question? Did you have a dream about this podcast?
I have not had a dream about this podcast.
Okay. Well, I had
have
to begin
not.
there because since we're talking about it, I thought maybe there's something I should know before I dig in.
Perhaps I just forgot to ask.
Oh, okay. And we will go there in a moment. But I'm going to call it a bomb when I said, I want to understand where this all began. So can you take us back to your 9-year-old self? Because I talked about that. What was happening in your life?
Well, I guess that's the interesting part, was not much. I was having a very normal childhood. Mm-hmm. I have very normal and very kind and loving parents, 6 brothers, and suddenly I began having nightmares.
Just out of the blue?
Out of the blue.
Wow. Do you remember what they were about?
Oh, I remember very clearly what they were about because they went on for many, many years. A man with a scarred face, a burned, scarred face, chased me endlessly. And I fell off of mountains and out of airplanes and off of all kinds of things. And I fell and I fell and I screamed and I screamed. And I woke some mornings with blood running down my hands, crusted blood. The picture of the cat where he's hanging on with one paw?
Yes.
Well, I was hanging on, what I don't know, I was just hanging on. That descent or that idea of falling becomes very, very important much later in life, when I turned 43, or about that time. So my mom did her level best. She put a white embroidered curtain over my closet so the man couldn't come out of the closet, because that's where he was coming from. And the nightmares continued, until I was at the edge of a nightmare. I spent a lot of time on the edge of a nightmare. Those nightmares went on after I was married. Bill used to joke about it and say whoever I was screaming at, he really felt sorry for them because but
Would you ever wake up during them?
no, you would just be paralyzed during them and know you were falling.
And even though you woke up with blood on your hands, you don't remember what caused that blood?
Oh, no, I would learn. Well, yes, when your fingernails cut into the palms of your hands from holding on so tight.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So your body, as we're coming to understand, we are body, mind, and spirit. We're body, soul connection. The body knows, but the mind keeps things from us that we can't cope with.
Were they the same every night, or were they different?
It wasn't every night. It was, at 9 years old, I guess I wasn't paying much attention. I was a reader. And I am an addicted reader. I read all kinds of books on the saints and Catholicism and anything I could get my hands on or my mom could get her hands on. I read it all. And so, like I say, I was having a very normal childhood, except I wasn't. So it got worse when I was 16 and I went away to school. I went away to study voice and music.
Oh, you're
My
a
dad
singer
was a
too.
musician, and he was. I was sang back in those days, a small community, Crooked Creek, Alberta.
Yeah.
You sing for the weddings, you sing for the church.
I can relate. I did as well.
Exactly.
Small town
And
Alberta,
I
that's what we did.
loved music, and my
Okay.
dad was the local banjo player, quite well known.
Mine was an
around.
accordion player.
There you go. They would have done well together because Dad also
we
played
could
the
have had our
accordion.
own band.
We could
Pearl.
have had a band.
Hey, we missed out on that calling.
We really did.
Okay.
So where was I in terms of growing up? Going off to school in Calgary, and there I got very ill. And I actually was fainting all the time, and that's where some doctor, I don't remember who, put me on phenobarbital. I don't have a memory of those days. I got I wrote away for the dates that I had been in that school in about 1992 or 3 when it got, I really wanted to know, so I got that information. When my mom passed in 2001, I realized that she had kept every letter that I had sent home. And so those were an absolute godsend as to what went on with me down there in Calgary.
So when you say you got very ill, what does very ill mean?
It means that you can't cope with your daily life. It means that you're fainting. In the mornings, we went to Mass. It was a private girls' school, and I would just faint, pass out. So they didn't really know what to do with me. My eldest brother Jerry lived in Calgary at that time, and they would phone him. He would take me to the doctor. The doctors would do whatever they did. That's where the iron tonic comes in. So they don't know what's going on with girls at 16 years old. How would they know? It's 1961.
Yeah.
So in any case,
How are you processing this?
I have
and
no
living
idea.
With it? You don't remember?
No.
What were these iron tonics? What did they do?
Well, they're supposed to, you see, at that age, girls are menstruating, and in the old medical models, we're a little hysterical. We're kind of, nobody really understands us, and on and on it goes. When my brother came to pick me up so that I could go home, Sister Superior said, I'm glad one of you is normal, because Jerry, of course, was properly, his suit and his tie and his scrubbed nails, and he showed up to pick up his sister from the convent, and he presented very well as a startlingly good-looking man. And so I went home, and I stayed home. I didn't go to school that year, the rest of that year.
Oh my gosh.
So you can see that I did have amazing parents. Can you imagine a 16-year-old sleeping in her room for the year? I did some things. I did dishes once in a while. I mean, I don't remember what I did. I know that my dad always said when he was leaving the house, he would say, "Is there anything you need, Blink?" And I would say, "Peppermints." That's what I remember. I needed peppermints.
Okay.
Don't ask.
Yeah, all right.
Because I don't remember.
When did things change?
When did things change? I took my grade 12 the next year. I took a lot of Valium, Transine, and then at the age of 19, the fainting began again. So it just carried on. It went back and forth all the time. And the change began in the spring of 1988 when I was so incredibly desperate.
You were how old at the time?
43.
Okay. So
And
this
so I
continued
lived
on and on. But you
on
went
and
to
on.
university and
I
everything.
went to
too.
university. Ask my friends and family. My parents knew. My oldest brother knew. Bill knew, my husband. And the rest of them, when they read the books now, they say, how did we not know? I'm going, well, when people commit suicide, what's the first thing people say?
They didn't know.
They didn't know.
Had no idea you were suffering.
Look at you. You've got a wonderful career. You have a lovely husband and 3 delightful children and a farm. What could possibly be wrong?
So the battle was in your mind.
The battle was in my mind, as it is with most people who are
Yes.
mentally ill. The spring of 1988, there were some pretty funny things that happened. I was teaching my grade 9 class. I was vice principal at Caledonia School in Leduc at the time, and I had taught 1 class a day. At the end of that grade 9 social studies class, the kids came and they said, or some of them came and they said, Mrs. Gregor, can we talk to you? I said, sure, what do you need? And they said, oh, it's not us, it's you. You know, Mrs. Gregor, you usually make sense, but today you didn't make any sense at all.
Oh.
We think you're sick and you should go home. And they left. Now, how's that for delightful kids?
Oh, that's one way of putting it, I
No,
guess. But
well-
Pearl, how did you process that?
I went home.
Were you upset?
No, they
Why
were
not?
well because I was between medications. The psychiatrist had changed my medication because I was hearing voices. And I needed to go off for 2 weeks so they could give me a stronger one that would stop the voices.
Okay, I need to ask this though. How much do you think that the voices were linked to medication at the time?
I have no idea. I think the voices were probably linked because when you find out what had happened to me, then you find that there was some personality splits or whatever language. I'm not a
Sure.
psychiatrist. However you would take that. I was beside myself, if that makes any sense.
It does, but you were so, like I said, highly accomplished. You were vice principal at the time. You went to university. You have a teaching degree, and you're hearing voices. in your
Let's
head.
talk about a young woman for a minute that is very near and dear to my heart. Her name was Erica Maxilowicz. And if you go to the Erica Legacy Foundation,
Yes.
you will recognize the name.
I
She was in a
recognize
class of mine at the University of Alberta. Committed suicide at the age of 29 and some months. I taught Erica. I didn't know either.
You didn't. That's usually the case, as we
Yeah.
said, where there is a death by suicide. So, 43 years old, doctor wants to change your medication. Tell me what happened then with the dreams.
Well, there were no dreams yet. Who knows about dreams? So in 1988, in that spring, my girlfriend Verna said, Pearl, okay, we've done the same thing, you've done the same thing. Prayer, prayer, and prayer, and read, and I don't know what else I was doing to try to fix it. What do
And-
you do?
And 1 second, you were married and you had children by this
Yes.
time, right?
Oh, for sure. In 1988, my eldest was just short of 18. He was away playing hockey in Portland, Oregon. My Jason was 15, and our daughter was 9.
Did they ever suspect that something might be wrong with mom?
No,
Did you hide it intentionally?
I don't remember hiding it intentionally. I do know that one of the kids was quite upset when they read the book because, well, Mom, why didn't you tell us? Why would you tell children something they can do nothing about?
Do you think they could have done something though?
No,
No?
absolutely
Why not?
nothing. Well, if no one else could, and if I couldn't, and my parents couldn't, and my husband couldn't, and all the people I knew, well, I didn't ask them, and the doctors couldn't, pardon my language, but how in the would
Yeah.
a kid know what to
Okay.
do? I think the children, thankfully, because they pick up energy, you know,
Yes.
so I don't know, to this day they seem pretty normal to me, so I think they're okay.
They're all very, very accomplished.
Very
I
accomplished.
know your son, Jason, well.
Yes,
and
exactly.
yes.
And so Verna said, well, let's go to meditation. So that's what it started. I started with an organization or a group of people called The Teachings of the Inner Christ.
Okay.
And we began to meditate. That was April. I meditated a lot that summer. I did a lot of prayer. The cover of my first book shows an experience I had during meditation. I'm just reading on a website this morning that Christianity will change or die or become mystical. And so I would say some of those experiences were deeply mystical.
Okay.
And that continued over the summer. Bill and I went on a week holiday with Rachel out to one of the lakes that I'm not even going to remember. I think it might have been Gull. And when I got back, I got really, really ill. Ended up in the hospital for 10 days, bleeding from the bowel and all kinds of other nasty stuff. Meditation will do that to you when you release a load of toxicity. I did not know that then. The doctor said it was E. coli. It wasn't. You know, bacteria that causes.
Yes, of course.
So when you're.
Did your blood show that, or that's just what they figured?
They didn't. Not. That's just what they figured, as near as I can tell.
Okay.
When I went to New York a couple of years later, Sister Sylvia explained to me what that is in terms of healing, and it's, again, pardon my language, called holy shit.
Yeah.
That's what happens. You just detoxify your body. I had had experiences in meditation where brown goop poured out of my cells, out my shoulders in particular. So meditation for me was massive in my healing process. Some of my family thought I was getting into the occult, and that's where the Recall a Dream comes in. I got a big box of books, and some of those books were amazing. They're Uncreated Energy by George Maloney. The theology of Catholicism is not well understood in our culture because you have to read a lot.
Yes.
Read a lot. And in any case, there was in that box of books was one that said, A Christian Approach to Dream Work is part of the title, I recall. And inside that book, which I read the first night I got it, said I could ask for a dream, and I did. And I got a dream.
What did you ask for?
I didn't ask for anything. You don't ask for specific dreams.
You don't?
You ask for a dream in your highest wisdom.
So educate us, Pearl. You have your teacher voice going.
I have my teacher voice going, well, let me just tell you the dream.
Oh, okay.
But how would that be?
Sure.
Because the dream is very, very instructive. Not that I knew what it meant.
You didn't.
How
You
would
just
you know?
asked for a dream.
I asked for a dream. It didn't tell me to get specific. It said, you can ask for a dream. And so I did.
You did it during meditation?
No.
When did you ask for the dream?
I just asked for the dream. I wrote it down. I will remember a dream tonight.
You wrote it down. Okay.
And I'm saying to your listeners, if you really want to, but don't be so specific that you still believe you're in control. Psyche has things to teach you. You're about 95% unconscious of your potential.
Whoa, we're going deep.
We're going deep. And so if you listen to this dream for a second,
You go ahead.
it's called The Landing. Can you figure out why? December 11th. Date your dreams, folks.
Okay.
So you can pattern them later. Like I've got dreams over 30 years where I can see this one happened here in this year, and this one happened here in this year, and they're linked because there's a development going on in your psyche, a development toward individuation and wholeness. So the dream, I am in an elevator in the Harley Court building where my office is on the 7th floor. It was when I was working for Alberta Education then. There are several other people, mostly women, with me. I do not recognize any of them. The door closes and the elevator begins to fall. It falls and falls endlessly, and everyone begins to scream and yell in panic. Suddenly, or silently, I pray over and over, Jesus, make it safe. While out loud, I repeatedly assure the others that everything will be fine. I am an educator, remember, and everything is always, it'll be fine. Let's not worry about that right now. It will be fine. After what seems like hours, the elevator gently lands. The landing is the clearest aspect of the dream. Ever gentle, softly, the elevator came to a halt, bouncing like a child in huge feather pillows or lamb's wool. Now, Carrie, how much do you know about dreams?
I don't. I want to learn.
So what would that dream mean for you?
That's something that you were, in your life perhaps, my interpretation is that you were landing in a new safe place in your life, that maybe the anxiety and everything you were going through was going to go away. You were going to be okay.
And guess what?
What?
I didn't get that at all. But you're dead right.
Wow.
Because over 7 years. But it didn't take very long to get to the safe landing in terms of landing once, landing twice, landing. Because in dream work, you go in a spiral and you come back to things. You've heard of peeling the onion for healing work?
Well, I've heard of the expression, but what does it mean?
Well, it means deeper and deeper and
Yes,
deeper
of course,
layers.
okay. With
So
healing.
landing many, many times. So I would land many, many times. So that dream, there's much in that dream that I would unpack over the next 31 years. It's actually, if I look at it now, knowing what I know now, it is the descent to Inanna. The descent, Inanna is a pre-Christian, pre-Greek goddess, the triple goddess, with all of the aspects of the feminine and the creator of the world or the universe, et cetera, et cetera. Much is being written now about Inanna.
Okay.
And it's only coming out of the excavations in anthropology and archaeology in the last, I would say, 70 or 80 years. I found a book in 1988, or it came to me by a woman by the name of Sylvia Pereira, called The Descent to the Goddess, A Woman's Initiation.
Pearl, you have to make it, what does it mean to everyday life? What
To
does that mean?
everyday life. Well, let's just carry on then.
All right.
So that's December.
Yes.
January 2nd, I'm meditating. An inner voice says, and shows me a vision of sunflowers, more symbolism, a river of silver coin, and a voice that says, the endurance run is over. Again, doesn't mean
What is it
anything.
exactly.
So you carry on, and you're
Yeah.
continuing to write and cry and heal and meditate and continue what you're doing.
So after all of these dreams, did you write them down in details?
Always. Every time you get a dream, you write it down in detail.
Okay.
And you write down the context of your dream. For example, the next day after this dream, I went to the bank and got enough money to buy a computer. Don't ask. What was all that about?
Yeah.
Well, think about it. I eventually became a writer.
Yes.
All the dreams got inputted into the computer so I could sift and sort.
Oh, boy.
You see, we try to plan too much in our culture. I'm sorry.
We are.
We're
Everything is
crazy with
scheduled.
it. We think we're going to control it all. Well, I've been trying to control the depression for 43 years. Where was it getting me? Nowhere.
Yes.
So now psyche took over. Well, I let psyche take over. I fell. That in theology, you must fall. You jump off the cliff. Well, I didn't jump from the age of 9 to 43. Now apparently I'm jumping. So January 2nd, then you can go to January 21st, and I go to St. Basil's to a prayer breakfast, which I had never done before. And it was there I received more healing, and the lady said, as she prayed over me, a great insult has been healed. So I'm ending an endurance run. A great insult has been healed.
Whoa, okay. Whoa.
Are we making any sense here?
Yeah, something has happened.
Something has happened.
Okay.
Something has happened.
Were you able to uncover that
Yes,
something?
eventually that uncovered. It uncovered on February 7th, 1989, in a meditation with my friend Verna and Jerry.
Will you tell us about it?
Well, that part gets, it's in the book because I just told everything in the book, but the truth of the matter is my inner voice showed me, or my soul voice is what I've come to call it now, the voice of my soul, that I had been molested as a preverbal child. Now, when you study psychology and psychotherapy, and art therapy is very, very valuable because through art therapy you can uncover things. When I talk to a couple friends I now have in the United States, they said it's almost impossible to uncover, and it's very that you're accessing a part of psyche That's what we call the unconscious in dream work. You're accessing the unconscious. And also access the Akashic Record. And that's a Hildegard of Bingen talks about the Akashic Record. She's a mystic from the 11th and 12th century. The Akashic Record is a record, apparently, in the ethers of everything that's ever happened in our universe, which seems, but it's in the universe.
Yes.
I guess if you look at a computer, in a way, you can think it's one amazing computer. It said that the record of that had been erased from the Akashic records, and in that moment I was given the gift of compassion and forgiveness, and I am mumbling to myself, that poor man.
Okay, wait, pause. I need to process this. So you meditated and discovered that you were molested by a man, and I'm going to wonder if that man wasn't the one that was in your dreams when you were 9 years old.
No.
And then you awoke, and you awoke with passion or compassion and forgiveness?
Yes.
One of these things is not like the other.
I know, because we're in a Western civilization and we don't actually believe that compassion and forgiveness are possible. It's a gift from your inner psyche, a gift that is incredible for me.
Weren't you angry when you came out of that meditation?
No,
Why not?
because it was useless, I guess. I don't know, because it literally said, my inner soul voice said, I had been gifted with compassion and forgiveness. Who would turn down such a gift?
Well, no one, but let's focus on what happened to you that you discovered.
But it made me what I am.
Okay.
Study the mystic Rumi, who says the wound is where the light shines through.
I know, but gosh, that's a hard place to get to.
Oh, it was a hard place to get to. I certainly will not deny that.
But Pearl, what about the man in the dreams that you kept? It was
But
coming after you.
that dreams are not literal. The man in the dream was a neighbor, so that was a clue. But it was not that neighbor. It was a man that I really, really trusted. But the man who molested me was a different man, and I have never divulged the name of that man because, well, for two reasons. He's dead now.
Okay.
I spoke to him.
You did?
I did.
Did you question him?
No, I went and put my hand on his arm and said, do you remember me? Because he was quite elderly then already, and he looked at me puzzled. He said, I think you're one of those Cramps kids. Remember, I was a baby. I was 18 months old or 20 months old, whatever. If you ask my parents about the things that I did as a child, I was hooked on something in Catholicism, purity. I had a coloring book for St. Maria Goretti. And if you know the story of St. Maria Goretti, if you don't, this is probably not the time to tell the whole story.
The essence of it is?
The essence of it is that she was resisted rape unto death.
Yes. Yes.
However, guess what I discovered as an adult when I went searching around into the story of St. Maria Goretti? In a dream, she appeared into the man who raped her and killed her.
Yeah.
She appeared in a dream and offered him forgiveness, and he came out of prison a completely changed man. Think about that.
I remember the story because I was raised Catholic as well.
Exactly.
Yes, I was. Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, so when you went to see the man that molested you, did you ever, is that all that you asked him?
Yeah.
What was the purpose of doing that for you?
I just needed to really, I remember going and sitting in the washroom and crying my eyes out with relief that it was gone now.
So seeing him helped erase the
Yes,
pain
helped
and
erase
freed you?
it. Yes. Are you familiar with the and I'm not going to have the name at hand. I'm in contact with this lady, and she's starting a house for reformed or for working with people who are getting out of jail.
Yes. Like a John Howard Society?
Kind of, but
Yeah.
much. I wish I had
Okay, it's
access
okay.
to it. I just read some of her work again yesterday. She is starting this with the man who murdered her father. You see, so we're coming to this, talk to Mark Lepin's mother about forgiveness. Our culture needs to move off of its vengeance models to restorative justice, and it's not doing a really good job. The divine feminine is returning, it's emerging, and the divine feminine, Christ tried his level best, but we didn't get most of it. You know what Gandhi says. Christianity's just never been tried. That's its biggest problem.
What do you mean when you say the divine feminine?
The divine feminine, I mean the feminine, the attributes of the feminine. My best explanation comes from sitting, excuse me, on the banks of the river in Banff, and I was quite upset with what was going on at a conference called the Creating a Caring and Equitable Society with Nell Noddings. And there was a lot of arguing going back and forth between the men and women about what's feminine and what's masculine, and this misperception completely that masculine equals men, because it doesn't. Neither does feminine equal women.
Okay.
We're talking feminine energy, the yin and the yang. We're talking masculine energy. Men need both and women need both. Men have more masculine, women have more feminine, but we both have both.
Yes.
So I'm sitting and watching the banks of this river. It's May. If you've been in Banff in May, you know that out of the mountains comes this rush of flooding water because the snow melt is on. And also comes destroyed trees, green trees, evergreen trees ripped up by the roots and tearing down the river, dead animals, all kinds of stuff. But it's going down the river. The channels in my world are the masculine. The flowing water is the feminine. And to me, that, if you watch closely in really high-level sports, watch them. When they're in the flow, you cannot stop them. And they just do it. And if you talk, and they may not put it in these terms, but if you talk to them about being in the flow, talk to a writer about being in the flow, or the Zen moment. It
pours out of you.
It just pours out of you. You're accessing your feminine.
I'm going to digress and go back because we went down a different avenue because I'm fascinated with it. But you have this dream, you discover you're molested, you go and see the person. Where does everything go from there?
Where everything goes from there, I don't have another dream till May 11th. So there's a lot to process. I write and write and write and write because in there, somewhere in March, I go to a charismatic conference in Calgary, and the lady who's the speaker, I'm excited. I've been healed of clinical depression here, folks. Like it's gone. It is gone.
Like that, after the dream, it's gone?
No, after the meditation on February 7th,
after the
it's
meditation.
Gone.
So you're not taking any medication?
Nothing.
Okay.
It's gone. Now, the aftermath isn't gone. Depression, you've seen the ads, depression hurts. And so the body takes a long time. Oh, I forgot to mention, within a month of that healing, my menstrual cycle went normal. Now, it could have been 2 months, 7 months, 6 months, 3 days, however erratic it was, all of those years. It now goes to 28 days. Now, explain that. So I say, when the visible meets the invisible.
Yes.
When the consciousness reaches the unconscious, there is more energy there than you can possibly contain. You can't do that all the time. You'll fry your circuits. You'll be blitzed right out. So when people read my book, the first one, I think they don't get that part. I think they kind of think it's maybe fictional or I made it up.
Well, you know what I'm going to challenge you with is this. So clearly you were raised Catholic.
Yes.
You're an educator.
Yes.
And you meditate.
Yes.
That's like oil, water, and mixing it all together.
Yes.
And it doesn't mix. But with you...
It mixed. What can I say? It happened. That lady that day said that perhaps she should read it and discern if I had been healed by the devil.
Whoa.
Yeah, whoa. So I had a lot of work to do for the next few months to try to sort that one out. I am raised Catholic. remember.
Yes.
And meditation and Reiki, I was doing Reiki too.
And that doesn't fall under
No,
Catholicism.
no.
It just doesn't.
Well,
That's hocus pocus, according to
no.
the Catholic
According
Church.
to, no, not to the church. According to the local priest, perhaps, or the local bishop.
Okay, has that changed in recent years where they're starting to honor that?
No.
Hold space?
I don't know. I just know that I do Reiki all the time because it is ancient Japanese energy, goes back forever.
Yes.
So I wrote a 26-page letter to the lady in the charismatic conference. Well, I am an educator and I can research things, but I never got an answer. But in retrospect, that too is a gift. Think about that. What did I do for myself with that 26-page letter?
You healed.
I healed myself. I uncovered and I undermined and excavated a whole whack of beliefs that I didn't need anymore, or a whole whack of doubts.
Okay.
Hey, we're good on miracles. We love miracles until we get one. And then, well, maybe it came from, like, somewhere.
Yeah.
My favorite verse in the Bible, and as you know, Catholics are not big Bible scholars. Well, they're getting better at it, or worse, depending on how you look at it. But we're not big scholars in that. My dad, when I read the Bible twice when I was 16, and Dad said, "Are you sure you should be reading that, Blink?" He didn't say don't read it. What he said was, "Are you sure you should be reading it?"
Right.
Now, that 26-page letter, I have it in my files. But that was March and April, and in May I got another dream. So you work with those dreams, and I'm reading now, and I've learned, and I've read this first book. So 31 years later, I think we're about 31 years, we're up for December 1980, 2019, we're going to be 31 years pretty soon. I probably have 200, 300, 400, 500 books.
And that's how much you were writing down and
You're writing and writing.
and
So you asked me earlier, how do you write a book, or whatever your question was? Well, you keep a journal from 1988 till you start writing in 2016.
That is remarkable. Did you ever feel like through this journey that there was a point like that I'm healed?
Oh, absolutely. I was healed of the clinical depression. Now, there was a point in 1996 where, in October 1996, where I could say to myself, that 7-year process, remember the seven in the first dream? Well, I didn't realize this until I was writing and going through and sifting and sorting everything and going, oh my God, look at this. This is amazing. I spent a lot of time in just pure and holy amazement going, who would believe this? And when I wrote it, I'm going, who would believe this? You know how much fear of ridicule there is when you put this kind of stuff out in the world?
Were you scared?
I did my fair share of, oh my God, what's going to happen?
And what did you receive?
Nothing but positive.
Your third book is coming out. The first two are called?
The first one is called I, the Woman, Planted the Tree, which is a take on the poetry of the goddess Inanna and her poetess, Enheduanna. And the second one is called Authoring Self. And that authoring self is a huge part of this whole healing. You have to, for me as a woman having been molested, you're retrieving your soul. You're rebuilding your soul.
Oh man, that's so huge.
I love the words that my structural editor, used when he completed the structural edit of the third book. He said, Perlite, I don't know if you know this, but the work you've done is pioneering people towards a whole new way of thinking. And I'm going, I come from Crooked Creek, Alberta. I went to a log school. I don't think we're pioneering much except the land.
Clearly.
But the second book is Authoring Self. The third one is called The Cauldron of the Feminine. And when you read Inanna, and I hope some of your listeners will actually go and find some books, or my books first of all, but Inanna second, that they will realize that the dreams, you just can't make this stuff up.
Yeah. You've lived it. You're an example of
I've
that.
lived it.
So I know our listeners have got to be thinking, I have to ask this question. can you then interpret dreams? Like we were talking earlier and I said after my mother passed for 3 solid months, every single night, my mom came to me in my dreams. And it was just her. It was like a soliloquy. She would just talk to me for 8 hours straight. I'd get up in the morning. I couldn't remember about what.
Right.
But she was there. And then all of a sudden it stopped. And I missed her. I almost looked forward to those nights.
See, and I don't interpret dreams because I view that as the highest form of egotism. But I will ask you a million questions so you can understand your own dreams. I'd far prefer you understand yourself and heal yourself to me being some kind of phenomenal guru for somebody. I don't need no gurus. G-U-R-U. Be you.
Okay.
So
you could take us through that process.
That's what I do in dream workshops.
That's
We
right.
work for you to get the skills. And I realize it's a big world out there for understanding symbolism.
Yes, it's huge.
It's huge.
You know, so let's get clear. You're a guest speaker now on this particular topic, and you offer workshops. Is that right?
Yes. And I take individual people. I am not a therapist. That needs to be really clear.
Okay.
People are their own therapist.
Oh, I like the way you put that.
You
You're
know, I mean, look at all the therapy I did. What good did it do me? I needed to take control. And control's not the right word. I needed to take responsibility. And responsibility for means being able to respond. It's not a duty. It's the ability to respond.
What if we can't remember our dreams? What if the people listening right now say, I can't remember?
Well, then you go down to the dollar store and you buy a 99-cent journal. And you write down 10 times, I will remember a dream tonight. And then you put your 99-cent journal and your pen by your bed.
Okay.
And when you wake up at 2 in the morning and just with a dream, you write it down. Right then. Don't wait for morning. Right then. Because our consciousness resists knowing. No, our ego resists knowing and having to change. Think about that. When was the last significant change you made in your life?
Okay.
We don't change our personalities easily.
No.
The ego jumps up and down and says the other guy's wrong and he's an idiot. I mean, not only is he wrong, but he's also an idiot.
Is that all part of the imposter syndrome?
That's part of the imposter syndrome. You got it. Okay. I'm not changing.
That's right.
You know, I'm going to be who I am, and I am who I am. But the fact is, could be better.
Yes, agreed.
Or healthier.
But you said the breakthrough came when you meditated. So when do we do that? I struggle turning off the monkey brain. When do I do it? At night?
What's the best time of your day?
Oh, I don't know. It's busy all the time.
That's a perfectly lousy excuse.
Oh, Pearl, I love you. Okay, maybe at night. Maybe I should at night.
Maybe you
I'm trying
should.
to put the electronics away at night. So
if you're watching electronics at night, you really are in trouble.
Okay.
Your monkey mind is going to go completely
You're
monkey.
right. You're right. Okay.
Yeah. So you meditate and you quit worrying about your monkey mind. You say, thank you for coming, but I've got this.
Who are you thanking?
Your monkey mind.
Oh, okay.
So you thank your monkey mind for coming by saying, I thank you for helping, but I don't need you right now. What I need is quiet. So, and the monkey mind, just let it flow by you. Let it keep going. Instead of stopping to worry about it every minute and a half, just thank you for coming. There's some great books on meditation. Right now they're calling it mindfulness. I mean, you have to change the jargon because meditation
that's old school now.
Is old school. So just set your clock for 20 minutes, no longer, maybe even 5 to start out with, and then relax your toes. Believe it or not, a deputy superintendent of Leduc schools taught me proper meditation, because one of the things I left out of the story is that 2 people did know in the county of Leduc. The guidance counselor, I asked him if I could take a leave, and he said, you probably never come back as an administrator if you do. And another gentleman that
you proved him wrong.
Yeah, I proved him wrong. Well, no, I didn't take the leave.
Oh,
I never took a leave.
Okay.
No.
You just worked through it.
Just work through it.
And the other person?
And the other person who taught me to curl my toes and let them go, then curl your ankles and let them go, like relax your body.
Okay.
And then you can meditate much easier.
Okay. And you still do that today?
I still do that
you curl
today.
your toes.
Curl
I'm
my
gonna try
toes,
that.
curl my, like, just hold on and make faces at yourself and let it go. You know, just clench every part of your being.
It feels good. It
It
feels
does.
so good when you let it go.
Yeah.
It really does.
And if you clench your hands and clench your teeth and clench your feet and clench your whole body and then let it go. And do that again and let it go. And then do it again and let it go. And pretty soon you can get deeper. And you put on some meditative music. There's some great stuff out there now.
Okay.
You had to pretend before, but it's there now.
I need to ask you this. I mean, Pearl, you just ooze wisdom on so many different levels from so
boy.
many different areas. I literally could talk to you for months on end. Fortunately, we don't have that time with this podcast. But I'm curious as to how you see yourself, because as I mentioned earlier, there's a blend of all different thoughts and schools of thought, and you're mixing things that normally don't mix. But how do you see yourself?
Oh,
Are you a healer?
no, I'm not a healer. I am inventing old woman. You know, for a very long time at my age, women sat and knitted because that was what they did. I don't know how to knit, nor do I intend to learn.
Got a hell of a sense of humor, though.
Well, let me think about that. Now, my grandmother on my cramps side knitted.
Yes.
But Grandma was also very wise, and she died in 1973. That was a different generation. We now have women entering into this 70s and 80s and even 90s. I just read this morning of a woman finishing her doctoral degree in music and dementia at the age of 90.
Oh, that's extraordinary.
That's extraordinary.
Mhm.
I've got a couple of years to get to 90.
A number of years.
Okay, yeah. But how do I see myself?
Yes.
You don't see yourself the way other people do, that's for sure. So I'm always just blown away when I get to do an interview on with Carrie Doll. I mean,
Oh my
think about
gosh,
it. Well, think
look
about it.
what I'm sitting across from.
But
I mean,
seriously,
so humbling for me with a woman of your.
but you have a voice that goes a very long way.
Well, I'm in